I had a guess. It was right after dinner, like, when it turned dark, like 8 o'clock.
okay.
We went up there. But who knows? Who knew? Maybe he wasn't home. Maybe he was trapped. Who the hell knew? You never knew he was going to be there or not, right? But I do know, looking back, that John could have made sure he was there, because if John would call him and say, "Hey, I'm
I'm
coming,"
on my way.
he's the one he trusted the most. So I'm kind of looking at this whole thing like this is Fugazi here.
Yeah, it is.
This
got a lot
is
of
a
Fugazi
Fugazi
written
thing.
on it, yeah.
Like you let me take a shot that, why don't you make it a sure shot?
Yeah. Why don't you get the job done?
Why don't you make it a sure shot? Whereas we're taking risk going up there and randomly bunking into the kid. You're not even setting an appointment with him, nothing, So I let it lay. A couple days go by, 2-3 days. John's got heat on him like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I had heard through the grapevine that everyone had heat, that they were looking for this kid. They had to find him because the FBI, everybody was coming down on everybody. My uncle had the body shop and the car lot down on 18th Avenue, and even he said the heat was on and they couldn't do anything. They were like locked down. They couldn't do it. They couldn't earn any money. So he stopped all production, this kid.
I remember there was a bar, it was another bar, I forget the name of it, not Knuckleheads, but next door to it was like a laundromat type of thing. Wherever John would go, you could see undercover agents making believe they're on the phone, making believe they're doing laundry,
Wow.
making believe they're a customer somewhere, making believe whatever. I'm looking around, I'm going, they are everywhere on top of him like you can't believe. We take another crack at it, right? This time I go up there with 2 different guys. Because he feels like the guys that he sent me with, they're just the runners with the food. These other guys, one of them, Gus knows one of them, and, because I told him, I said, look, these kids don't even know their way around. I was complaining about them a little bit. I said, they're supposed to know exactly where to go. How are we going to get out of there? This time we go back, right?
This is time number 2.
Time number 2, same plan, same everything, right? As we're driving up there, heat like you wouldn't believe. Because I just left John's house. Just left his house. Luckily, they didn't pull us over, and we got pinched with the bullpup, right? Heat up you couldn't believe they were flanking us, left, right, back, front. I mean, it was ridiculous. Finally, I told the kid, I said, make a left just to check. You see them make a left. You see another car come, cross surveillance, make a right, do this, do that.
So they're on to something. They've got something figured out here. What do you do at this point?
We can't go near this house.
Yeah. No, because you're going to give them up at that point.
We turn back around. I go to John. I go, John, the heat was so bad, Sonny. I'll tell you how bad it was. Because there was maybe a 3 or 4 day lapse before we went back up there again. But every day they were putting the pressure on.
More and more pressure every day. I had heard that, through the grapevine.
On everybody.
Yeah. Everybody had heat.
It was getting so bad because the kid wasn't popping up. And they were getting madder and madder, right? John, you couldn't even be around them. If we went anywhere, we went to a bar in the Bronx where it was kind of like, I forget what street it was on. I even forget the name. But next door was like a laundromat. And you could see agents pretending they're doing laundry, pretending they're a customer, pretending this. I mean, you could tell,
Yeah, it's all staged up.
And they were on him because now word's out. Sure. John Petrocelli,
they want this done.
Out of all the 5 families, out of all the maid guys, think about it. Just one has him. How much heat you think he had on him?
All of it.
How much heat you think everybody had around him? Anybody near him?
Tons. Everybody's getting heat. Like I told you. I mean, they're just everywhere at that point. I remember.
So I go back to John. I said, John, there's too much heat where he's at in the house or anywhere.
Anywhere.
Okay. Is there any way you could get this kid to come meet you anywhere else?
Get him out of there.
He goes, you know what, Frank? I've been thinking about it. He says, I don't even want to do it.
So he's out at this point.
Now he's out again.
Now he's out.
And this time he's out where he's like, F Vic.
Yeah, he's washing his hands of the whole situation.
F everybody. Okay. This kid's my friend. I'm standing by him. I stand by what he did. What I got to go kill somebody who kills an agent? This guy's a good guy.
He's justifying his thought process.
Justifying all that.
Yeah, he's trying to justify that in his own mind.
I'm trying to talk some kind of sense into him.
Sure.
Like, hey, John, you're not going to win on this, Are Are you sure about this? What does Gus do? Gus feels something or doesn't trust it. He goes and calls Jerry Chili, his daughter. Jerry Chili was like a main guy with the bananas. I think he was a captain one time, or they used to take him up and down, you know. His daughter used to date Gus. So he trusted the Chilis.
To go in and try
Goes
to
to show you
pull him out.
how he paid John back. Right?
Really?
Goes and calls the Chilis behind John Petrocelli's back, and then goes to them.
For protection.
Yeah, for help to
Yeah.
you know, harbor him or whatever, right?
Get him out of town or whatever.
And then eventually he gets killed.
Yeah.
I'll get into that whole story about the kids that killed him, and one
That
of the
took
kids.
place in Bensonhurst, didn't it?
Yeah, he winds up going to
81st Street, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he went to go get the mail somewhere,
Yeah.
and they killed him. I'll get into that whole story, and then one of the kids, the main kid that killed him, gets killed. How he got killed. I'll get into that another episode. I really believe John tipped him off.
You got to think that. I mean, because in his heart, he did not want to give this kid up in any way, shape, or form. He just didn't want to give him up.
I think he told
When
him to
did
go.
you come to that conclusion? Right away?
You know, thinking about it, right? There was a time. Here's how nuts John was, right? John says, "Oh, he's got a beard. He has a beard down to the floor, like he grew this big beard, like a Grizzly Adams type beard." You know,
Okay.
they're not going to recognize him. So the plan was, we're going to kill him in the place. He wants me then to get him, wrap him up, and dump him on the courthouse steps. But before we dump him on the courthouse steps,
You got to shave him.
we got to shave him.
You got to be kidding me. That's how he thought.
So the plan was that, which I'm remembering now,
Yeah.
because you get the rust off. I haven't
Yep.
talked about this in 30 years. Go to the house, kill him, wrap him up, get him in the car, shave him,
Give him a shave and a haircut.
kick him out, go down to, yeah, shave him.
Give me a shave and a haircut. while
Maybe
I'm
a
dead.
facial too.
Yeah,
right?
You
yeah.
stop by the barber or what?
Make him look pretty before you
Like
drop
Weekend
him
at
off.
Bernie's.
I'll take him by my Russian barber.
My
I'll
goodness.
take him over there,
Oh my goodness.
shave him,
Yeah.
and then
And
kick
drop
him,
him.
jump on the courthouse steps. Now, what courthouse would you drop him at?
Manhattan DA's office.
Right, so you got to go downtown to Manhattan.
You got to
right?
go to Manhattan
Now we
with
got
a
to drive
dead body.
Right, we got to go drive all
But
the
he's
way.
clean shaven at this point.
We got
Just
Wait,
kidding.
now I
Everybody's
just got
gonna
one
hate me
question.
again.
Would this earn you the nickname the barber?
No.
What
No.
would you get out of
No.
this? It's like,
got no.
I think
So-
this is how those nicknames are created, right?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just taking. I think back now. You know, he was so whacked out on coke.
Yeah, that stuff does that to you.
You know?
Sporadic thinking,
I would
sporadic
think-
reaction.
Let's play this out. I would think that, let's say that hit would have went through.
Okay.
We go to the door. Everything went as planned, right?
Yep.
I hit him with a shotgun, whatever it was, right? We wrap him up. Did we really have to shave him for them to recognize who it was?
Oh.
Let's just say either.
Fingerprints. Remember those?
Let's play
They
this
tell
out.
the story.
Let's play this out.
Yeah.
I still got some carne asada in my tooth.
I got it.
I know the comments will get on me for that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, what do we got? Toothpicks now? You trying to sell
Why-
toothpicks?
Why are you eating on camera anyway? What's the matter
Is
with
that
you
a
guys?
sponsor? You got a toothpick sponsor?
What is
My
this?
allergies are killing me.
So let's play this out, Sonny.
Go ahead.
The hit goes down,
Okay.
right?
As planned. First time.
As planned. Do you really need to take him out of that house and dump him on the courthouse steps?
Just tell them where they are. They're waiting for him anyway. They're all around anyway. They're close.
That's one.
They ain't that far away, I'm thinking.
Well, I think,
That's
wouldn't
one.
they know who he is? Because
Of course they'll know.
he's in that
Fingerprints.
house?
Fingerprints.
Now two. No, the house wasn't under his name. It was under some
Somebody else.
legit family's name that John had do them a favor.
Gotcha.
Matter of fact, you know whose house it was? It was the kid that was around John's mother and father's house, or a relative of his.
Okay.
These poor people had no idea. You know, it's like you.
It's their summer house. You're harboring America's most
It's
wanted.
it's like Sonny. I come to you. I go, you don't know Giantonio. He's wanted. America's Most Wanted, right? Now you're a legitimate guy. You're an older couple. You don't know nothing from nothing. You know.
Nor
I
would
tell
they
you-
ever think that.
I tell you, Sonny, do me a favor. I want to keep my friend by your house for a little while.
Yeah.
He's got nowhere to go for a couple of months. he goes, sure, son.
Sure.
Yeah. I think it
Why
was his
not?
mother, father, was aunt, uncle, whatever it was. But I know they were like
Family member, yeah.
nice Italian people that talked like this. Right?
Oh, right.
They
off.
have no idea they're harboring a fugitive.
Not a
No.
clue who's staying at the house.
Okay.
Nice.
Right. And then you don't know anything. You just say, hey, you know what? Or you know what? The kid might have told the mother and father, hey, listen, I need the place.
Yeah, he could have said
along.
anything.
Well, you don't know who's there.
You don't know.
Let's say we would have hit him in that house.
Right.
I think they wanted us to take him out of the house so that the kid don't get any heat.
Right.
Okay, so let's say we wrap him up and put him in the trunk or wrap him up in a carpet, whatever we had, right? So let's say we wrap him up, boom, we take him put him in the trunk. All right, so we got to kick him out on the courthouse steps. Does it have to be the courthouse steps?
Put him anywhere.
Put him anywhere.
Yeah.
The big question is, do we really have to shave him?
No. There's a million ways to ID. There's teeth, fingerprints. There's a million things.
So you want to laugh? We did buy the shaving cream. I'll never forget
This is
which one I bought.
getting funnier by the minute.
You never forget which one I bought. Barbasol.
Barbasol.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little
thing.
had the red and thing on it. I remember it.
And the what do
when
you
I was
call?
a kid. With the brush?
No, not the.
Okay. I was like, you weren't planning on brushing this guy's face with the shaving
You
cream.
got the warmer and everything, you know? So
That's funny.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
But
Frank, after you hit him, wrap him up, shave him, kick him out the courthouse
put
steps.
him on the courthouse.
All right. So now I'm saying, okay, kill him wherever he's at, New Rochelle, wherever the hell the house was, Westchester, whatever. Kill him in the house, wrap him up, put him in the car, drive him all the way down to the city. While he's in the car in the city, right, we got to shave him and then kick
Somehow.
him out on the courthouse steps.
The scenario doesn't really work.
this sounds like a really bad plot to a really bad movie,
The gang that almost could shoot straight.
doesn't it? It really
Something
does
like
sound
that.
like a bad
It
plot
sounds
to a
crazy.
movie.
Well, now in the federal system, there's a thing called conspiracy to murder.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, conspiracy to murder. Now, did I kill Gus Faraci?
No.
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 But the argument is, if he would have answered the door that day, would have you have killed him?
But you did conspire.
But the thing is, what their argument is this is why you got to plead guilty to conspiracy to murder, is although you didn't kill him,
Mm-hmm.
somebody else killed him, you conspired to kill him, okay? And because, and they go, what if? Okay, well,
But what if they're
what
doing
if
the
he
same
did
thing we
answer
just
that?
did?
What if he did answer that door? Were you prepared to shoot him with that
Take care of
shotgun?
business? Yeah.
I was, right?
Yeah. You went there with that intent.
Why didn't you? Because Gus wasn't there. So they look at it and go, well, if he was there, you would have did it. You conspired. Conspiracy to murder. I think it carries, I don't know, 15 to...
So now you have to plead guilty to that later on.
Yeah, so it gets put in your plea agreement and it gets put under what I talked about. I had to plead guilty to, I think it was a couple of RICO murders where people actually participated in. And then underneath that is conspiracy to murder, assaults, and all the other crimes that carry less time, right? But that's the whole another thing with cooperation, how that works. I'll get into that
Yeah.
another episode.
We've touched on that a little bit here and there, but I mean, I got to ask you, I mean,
So how do you prove that? Like conspiracy to commit murder? How do you prove? That's almost like we think you're going to do something wrong, even though we can't prove it.
well, not really, but you admitted to it. You're saying that they
Eventually,
does
he
that- how
had
does
to
that come up? Yeah.
when he went in. Obviously, he had to, but
What had happened was one of the kids that came up on the ride with me,
Mhm.
he flipped. And he told them.
So there's your answer,
But you got to
So
tell them everything you did and who you did it with.
right? Because they already know, because their kids already told them. So
Sure, they
if
know
you
the
don't tell
answers.
them the truth, then your thing gets ripped up.
They know the answers before they ask the questions.
Right.
Like I said,
They do.
some coffee over here.
Yeah.
So now, what's this, French press again?
it is. So here's what AI just said. Conspiracy to commit murder is a criminal offense involving an agreement between two or more individuals to intentionally kill another person. The prosecution must prove an agreement, intent to kill, and an overt act taken in furtherance of the conspiracy. The actual murder doesn't need to occur for the conspiracy charge to be valid.
There you have it.
So,
Explains it all.
yeah.
But you're right. If that other one of those young kids flipped, they already know the whole scenario. They know exactly you had intent to do it twice, technically. So the kid probably told me you went there twice, right?
What I learned with the system, with the law, is you need predicate acts.
Explain, because not everybody's going to get that.
Right. So is what Giantonio just pulled
Just
up.
explained, yeah.
There has to be predicate acts. So the act of, there has to be certain acts, certain steps to take.
The conversation that took place.
There was a
the
conversation.
act of going up there with the loaded.
There was a conversation. There was a drive. There was a firearm.
There was more than two
intent.
people involved.
More than two people.
Yep.
It's an intent.
All that scenario he talked about.
Right now, you're walking around the street. You don't know all this. You know, you're saying, "Well, I didn't."
There it is.
There it is. Conspiracy to commit murder is a criminal offense involving an agreement between two or more individuals to intentionally kill another person. Husband to an agreement between an intent to kill, overact, taken in furtherance of conspiracy. The most important thing is the actual murder doesn't need to occur for the conspiracy charge to be valid. There you have it. So, and under the cooperation agreement, you have to come clean with everything you did and who you did it with. So let's say, for example, let's say I forgot about that. This kid flips, tells him the story,
and it comes up later on.
Okay. If they find out that I purposely
forgot,
I get charged with that conspiracy to murder with no credit for cooperation or anything.
If you got a 20-year history in the mafia, for example, maybe this happened 50 times. How do you remember all 50 times? I mean, honestly, that's kind of crazy.
Intentionally meaning this. Let's say, for example, I'm just playing this out. Let's say me, you, and Sonny go conspire to kill that camera, right? Okay, now you flip, right? And now you say, hey, Giantonio, you remember anything about... Now, you don't know me and Sonny already flipped. They already got me and Sonny. They're already talking to me and Sonny.
Yeah.
Now they come to you and they go, Giantonio, tell us about that camera. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, nothing.
You're trying to protect yourself because you don't want to get charged, right? But meanwhile, they already know you're involved because they got two other people saying the same thing.
So not like they're saying, like you were offering that up to start with. It's almost like an entrapment situation, in other words.
In a form or fashion, it may
I mean, this
be,
sounds a lot like that. It's like we're going to use what they say against you to entrap you into.
It's a stretch if you got one person saying something against one person, right? But now if you got multiple people, you know, saying that, yeah, this is what went down.
Yep.
You know, and then you got one guy holding out for his own reason. They're not stupid. But you know, they're human beings too. Like the prosecutors and the FBI agents, they're not going in there with the intent to rip up your agreement. They don't want to do that. Everybody thinks that
they need convictions.
They want it to go smooth because you know why? If you flip and it goes good, the next guy's going to want to come in. They don't want to rip up your agreement and then make the guys here, you got life.
Yeah, you got
even though you cooperated,
and you still.
They really don't want that. You really gotta screw up with them, for them to say, "Oh, that's it. We're not dealing with you no more.
We're done with you."
Wow.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And I got to say the truth. That Gaspipe, he did it to himself.
What did he do that was so bad that they just gave him like 500 years? And I mean, they just went off on that guy.
There's a number of reasons why. You know, when he got inside the units, there was things that he was doing again. Gaspipe still thought he was the boss. You know, he never changed. He wasn't sincere about changing. And he wouldn't go with the flow. Like I said, he thought he was
still running the show.
He wasn't right. Like he wasn't, even when I was with him, he was going off the deep end. He really had like mental problems. If you see that 60 Minutes interview.
I don't doubt it, yeah.
You ever seen that 60 Minutes interview?
I have not seen it. I probably need to.
I mean.
Yeah, you can see he's a little off in it.
Yeah, I could tell he was off.
Well, you would know. You spent a lot of time with him. That's sad because I think in that life, a lot of times guys do that. You kind of get a little almost too full of yourself, and then you become something that the newspapers made you out to be, and now you're the boss no matter what, including with the FBI.
I think what happened too was when they started debriefing Gaspipe, it was just too much for them.
Meaning what? That it was too much.
Too much.
Too much information.
No.
Too many unalived. Too many of all of it.
Too many unalives. Too much. They probably looked at everything at the end of it and said, "How could we put this guy on the stand?"
Yeah, he's.
This is
insanity or borderline insanity.
Who do we put him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's what happened. I think they bargained more for, what do you say?
They got more than they bargained for?
Way more.
Yeah. And almost they couldn't handle how much they had to hear. In a way, they didn't handle it well, so that's why they just said, this guy, we can't put him on the stand.
He made everybody in organized crime. I don't want to start naming names. He made everybody in organized crime who flipped look like an altar boy.
But he could. He had the history.
But think about it. I'm talking about bad acts. I'm talking about this guy. This guy had, and some too. It wasn't just. It was a lot of heinous, psychotic. I mean, there's just guy, and there's just guys the government just won't make a deal with.
And he was one of them.
I think they wanted to make a deal with him. Somebody had the idea, hey, this is a good idea. But then when they got into it with him, and at the end of it, they looked and they probably said, how can we ever use this guy?
Yeah. At the time, it seemed like a good idea. And then they got all that information and went, oh my goodness, we can't use this guy.
I mean, I don't think they should have look, I know I'm going to get criticized for all of this, what I think, but I don't think they should have, they made an example out of him. Let's put it that way.
That's what I read too.
Back to what I was trying to say with my buddy Petrocelli.
Yeah.
Go up there. Gus is not there. Go back down to John. I really believe in my heart, John tipped him off.
Right. Which makes sense. Which brings me to this. I mean, if you had, again, it's all speculation, but if you had taken care of the situation for Petrocelli, would he have given you up? Do you ever think of that?
Giving me up, how?
Giving you up, that if you took care of that situation for him, went up
Gus?
there, took care of Gus for him, would he say somewhere along the line that Frank did that for me?
What do you mean, to law enforcement?
To anybody. If it got on the street even.
I don't think he would have gave me up like he would have flipped and gave me up. I think he would have told Vic and everybody else I took care of it. So everybody on the street would have known.
Okay.
I don't think nothing would have happened to me because I think the agents the agents would have been like, okay, good.
Good. That's what we wanted.
That's what we wanted.
I mean, really, that's what they wanted. They wanted the kid dead. And they were telling people, we don't care how you deliver him, but deliver him.
Sonny, I don't care what I even when I cooperated, right? And I met with the DEA, okay? And there was a bunch of agents I talked to. I said, I don't care. I started laughing. I don't know who it was. I says, two guys, if I see them again, I know who they are. I said, they pulled me out of the car with John. They had their finger in my face, in my chest. They were pushing me to where I was backing up to like somebody goes like this to your chest and you're backing up.
I used to have a boss that did that to me.
I don't care what you was telling me because usually when they talk to you, they have two people there. The agent will never talk to you alone. Why do they have always another agent there?
Keep their story together.
That's their witness.
They got to collaborate.
We never
keep
said that.
Story tight.
Yeah, we never said that.
No, that's not what happened.
So whose word are you going to take over it? Two agents, or are you going to take my word?
Agents.
Right. I told them, when I got comfortable with them, where I could kid around with them.
Yeah.
I says, I don't care what you telling me. I got pulled out of the car that day. I got threatened.
Somebody
straight up threatened. I said, and I got told, and nobody said nothing. He shows up dead. Heat's off, right? Now comes time. Johnny Petrocelli. I'm hanging out in Brooklyn one day. The manipulator, Bones.
Good old Bones.
Tells me, stay away from that guy.
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah, blah. Right?
Again.
I go,
You
whatever.
get told again.
You get told again. I never forget. I'm with him up one night, knuckleheads, right? Thinking back, this is the time where Gus left. Like, Gus had left. He didn't get killed yet. He just left. Okay. And Johnny's going on a rant. F Vic, F this one, F the mob, F everybody, you know? So anyways, we're doing a deal. He said, I got my Colombians coming tomorrow to drop me off 60 kilos. Now I'm building
Big
up a
weight,
business
yeah.
with him, right? He said, why don't you sleep over my house tonight? He says, so in the morning when they come over, you could take your packages right from there. And I remember John, I sold him an M16 with a grenade launcher. He wanted the same one in the Scarface movie. That's how nuts he was.
Yep.
Right? I went, I got it from him. I had that good of a connection.
You had a connection.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So I sold him the M16 for cost, right? He used to keep it in his dresser. 2 doors you open up and he had everything in there. The hand grenades, all this stuff in there, right? So he's sitting there, he's drinking. He goes, why don't you sleep over my house tonight? Tomorrow, he said, I'll give you whatever you want, right? I said, I put 15, 20 keys on the side for me. So now I was ready to go sleep over his house. I said, let me call home. So I called my then fiance, girlfriend, my mother's, not my mother, my son's mother.
Your son's mom. Yeah.
I called her up. I says, hey, I'm sleeping out tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. She goes, I got a bad feeling. She says, why don't you go home? Why don't you come home?
She said that to you.
I says, no, what are you talking about? I said, I'll see you tomorrow. I hung up on her. I get a page from my mother's house. I call home.
Now mom's involved.
Well, she called my mother up.
Of course.
My mother tells me, Frankie, why don't you go home? You know, either go buy, yeah, there it is. Go buy
Ugly looking girl.
go by your girl's house or come home. I said, no, I'm going to sleep out. Well, who gets on?
Big Daddy.
Yeah. He goes, listen, he said, get home.
This is your father telling you now. Now you've been told by 3 people, come home.
I said, all right, you know. So I hang up the phone. I go back to John. John's drinking at the bar. I said, John, you know what? I said,
See you in the morning, yeah.
I'll see you in the morning. Whatever. He said, okay, look. He
Makes
says,
sense.
soon as you get up, he says, give me a call.
Okay.
I said, all right. When I get up, I give you a call. I go to the barber that day, go for my normal haircut. I stop on Mott Street. There was a club there that was my cousin used to hang out in. So anyway, I go to the club, right, where my cousin used to hang out in. So I went to their phone in the club, and I paged John from there, and then they call you back, right? So I pick up the phone. John calls me back, and he says, "Hey, buddy," he said, "what are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Hey, I'm drinking cranberry juice." He says, "My friends are on the way." He said, "I'll call you when they leave." Meaning the
I
Colombian
mean, the
guys.
people are delivering the packages. Yeah.
That's what I'm
I got
thinking.
it. Yeah, of course.
Well, there was no Colombians. There was no packages. His friends came there and they killed him. They come in there, they kick the door down. 2 of his friends that he knows, whatever, or he's friendly with, they start shooting him. From what I understand, he turned around and he went towards his dresser to grab the M16.
To get the gun.
He
Yeah.
couldn't get the M16 in time, so what he did was he pushed him out of the house, or the apartment that he was in, so they would go out in the street. He went down on the lawn right in front of where he was at, grabbed the chain that he wore from my uncle, that my uncle gave him, and then before he died, just ripped it and said something, you know, like Jesus or something, you know, and he died. Those 2 guys get caught on the scene. They get caught on the scene. Eventually, they go and get convicted. They get life. I think they're still doing life in jail. Now comes time they got to lay Johnny out, right? It's a closed casket. So that means, you know,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
They
You
can't
don't
fix
wanna
him
see
up
him.
enough
Yeah.
to
You can't
to
see
see
him.
him.
Yep.
And the whole Lucchese family was told not to go.
To show disrespect.
To show any kind of respect.
They said, don't even give this guy the respect he deserves now that he's dead. 0. You didn't go.
Well, now what happens is, right, I called the son. The son got very close to me, and the kid was like a lost,
I'm
you know, he was
sure.
lost without the father.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad because the son was a good kid, ballsy kid, but he was a little like, I don't want to say like a little, wasn't the sharpest guy.
Had some issues, possibly.
Yeah, he was just, but really a good kid, right? So he had the father's old pager. I get the phone number, right? I go meet him. He comes downtown. I meet him, and he's sitting there, he's hysterical crying to me. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to hold it because, I really love John, his father. So he goes to the phone to call home. His mother picks up. Guess who's in the house with the mother?
Tell us.
Vic Amuso.
Holy smokes.
Now, the kid doesn't catch this. The kid picks up the phone. Hey, Ma, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. I'm down here I'm down in the city, down here with Frankie. She knew who I was, right? And he hears Vic in the background.
Wow.
And the mother admitted to him or something. Anyway, the kid hangs up. He doesn't think nothing of it. Here's how gullible he was, naive he was. He goes,
Yeah.
I just got the phone my mother. Everything's okay. He said, you know who's by the house? He says, Vic's by the house.
Uh-oh.
My face drops.
Of course.
Because I know right away, I'm saying, wait a second.
This can't be good.
I said, the treachery. Okay, so so you're the boss of the family. You had a personal relationship with Johnny Petrocelli. He came home. You straightened him out. Okay? You had a lot of plans for him. He goes and helps his friend Gus Ferracci, who happened to kill a DEA agent. Okay? Now you find out, you get wind he's harboring him. Rafi Como, the mob rat, told you. That's how you found out.
Right.
You then go get a lot of heat from everybody and go, you got to give this kid up. You give John the order. John doesn't carry through with it. You give the order on him now to kill him. You tell everybody in the family, don't go to the wake. But now you buy his house with his wife.
It's ruthless. Excuse me.
One or two things. I never met Johnny Petrocelli's wife. I heard she was very attractive. So only a couple things cross your mind.
Ain't that the truth? As being a street kid, what crosses your mind?
What crosses your mind? She was that attractive that now you buy the guy's house? Not supposed to be there. Or you were that close to him that you pay any of your respect, which I buy that.
You would hope that's the motive.
But if you were so concerned about respect, why didn't you have the family, the Lucchese family, go to the guy's wake?
Right. And show him that last bit of respect. But he did.
So I'm asking you, from an outsider looking in, what do you think it was? What is Vic Amuso, the boss of the family, doing over there?
He had a motive to go there, obviously. And
What was the motive?
well, I'm a man, so I'm going to think of the bad thing here and tell you that he was there. If you need anything, young lady, I'm right here for you. That's what he went there for. I mean, stuff you see and read about, but people actually live that life and do that.
So now Rafi,
Back to Rafi.
after John gets killed and everything's over with,
Yeah.
right? Rafi wants to act like the big shot. Not knowing that I know what actually happened,
Yeah, you've put 2 to 2 together here. And
sitting there trying to take credit for it.
that he set it up.
Not that he had it done. Like, he was involved in getting it done.
Right.
You're involved with getting it done. You didn't know I was intimately involved with John. You didn't know that I knew that I was the one going to go kill the guy for him. Gus Ferracci.
You didn't know all that.
You didn't know I got pulled over by the agents when I got out of the Holland Tunnel.
And threatened.
You didn't know about all the things John Petrocelli told me. But what I do know is that you went back, mob rat, and told the boss of our family.
Yeah.
Okay? And you got the guy killed.
That's the bottom line.
Maybe I'm wrong. You think Rafi got him killed?
It sure adds up to that. I mean, the math is the math. It adds up.
Or did John get himself killed?
Well, it's a combination. You got to think.
My thing is, if somebody in the family, okay, here's my point now. Let's say Giantonio's the boss, right? Me and you are good friends.
Mhm.
We're posing to be friends, right? Brothers.
Right.
You tell me something in confidence.
I hope.
Why
it's
do
in
I gotta
confidence,
go back and tell the boss?
You should.
Right?
The boss don't need to know certain things.
Right.
Right.
So
It's like
if you told,
they don't need to tell the boss
if you,
everything.
right. So if you tell me something,
Yeah.
right, you keep between us.
Between us, yeah.
Now, you go back to the boss and say something, right? You could get me killed for it.
You got to know that's the law of the land. If I tell the boss something on you, I just put you in harm's way.
That's why I was always after that with Rafi. No matter how much I loved the guy, no matter how much, there was a lot of good that came from Rafi and everything else. That was one thing after that, after John got killed, I looked at him differently. I'm saying to myself, you know what?
It's not the same guy you thought.
I would
he
never
was.
confide in this guy
Yeah.
about anything because he's the type of guy that will go to the boss. What were you trying? Okay, what were you trying to accomplish by going and telling the boss?
There's only one goal in mind.
What is it?
Take that guy out. He's not listening to the boss. He's not listening to anybody. We got all this heat because of this guy. You got to take him out of the picture. That's what he's thinking, right or wrong. I mean,
I think he's trying to score points. Wants to be the brownie.
He seems like you said he was that guy, with the John Gotti, and he ran over the kid, made sure he made on the picture with John Gotti in it. But he was that guy. So you're onto something there.
Wants the brownie
It's
points.
interesting, yeah.
Oh, Rafi's a good guy. Rafi told me
We can trust Rafi.
We can
He
trust
does
Rafi.
he does us, things that nobody else would do. You still had dealings with this guy after this, after Johnny's
Who?
gone, Rafi. You still got dealings with him. How do you approach this guy now? What's your thought process when you got to go meet with this guy or talk to him?
I never wanted to deal another package with him again. But I know if he would have went back to Vic and said I was dealing junk,
Yeah,
because that's a cardinal rule, right?
Yeah, what if he does?
You can't deal junk. Well, Vic and Gas were the biggest drug dealers.
Right.
Okay, so they know,
Yeah.
right? So I probably wouldn't have got killed over it. But Rafi, you wouldn't have told Vic we were dealing junk because you could get yourself killed now.
He'd get in trouble, yeah.
Why'd you go tell him that?
Because that didn't come up. That
You had to
wasn't
go-
the problem.
The guy comes and tells you he's harboring America's Most Wanted. Go, okay. Why do you have to go out of your way? Went out of his way, I heard.
To have a meeting. Because
To
you
have
got
some
to
kind of meeting.
call a meeting.
Look at the information I got. John has them. What are you ratting the guy out for?
It's all bad.
For what? You're gonna get so now what happens is it's gonna be nothing but all. It's gonna be all bad. Nothing good's gonna come out of
Nothing
it.
good comes out of this.
Right.
Nothing. For anyone, really.
When it came down to
Other
it,
than maybe Rafi.
when it came down to it, Prince Street was all about saving your ass. I think about all those guys down there.
Covering each other's ass, but not really. They were covering their own ass.
Yeah. Politicians,
CMA, baby.
yeah, they were just.
Well, you said that once before that, Rafi was more of that politician guy out there scoring points and doing what he did. So, yeah, his motive was definitely
More
there.
coffee?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, that's the story of Johnny Petrocelli.
That's a good story. I'm glad we covered that.
There's more details as I keep talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's more details and nuances as to, what led up to it, getting the timeline together. But
Right.
those are the main highlights of the events that happened leading up to it. So now after he gets killed, Johnny Petrocelli has his son and all his son's friends lingering out there with no family,
Right.
meaning that
Nobody
they
to
were once,
answer to.
well, they were once with the Lucchese family, but now that John's gone, where are these kids going?
Yeah.
So I go to Georgie Neck. Georgie Neck's on the lam. Vic and Gas already on the lam. And I says, hey, I want to put all these kids with me. Put them with us. He goes back to Gas, whoever he had to go back to. Comes back and says, we don't want them. I said, but Johnny Petrocelli's son, that, we don't want any of
I don't
them.
want none of them.
None of them. So all went on to different families. The son, I guess, eventually, what I read is the son eventually did stay with us and did get to be a made guy, and the poor kid's doing life now.
Wow.
And the guy, Joe DeFeeti, that I talked about,
yeah.
who was the
What
acting boss, wound up flipping
That's what.
and testifying
your
against him.
friend. The saga continues.
All right, buddy. Salute. Good to see
Saludo.
you.
See you when I see you type of thing.
See you when I see you.
We get to do this again.